As voters prepare to head to the polls next week, we thought it'd be useful to go through the key personal finance proposals from the two major political parties, as well as some of the important things that they failed to mention. Unlike in previous elections, there's clear blue water between Jeremy Corbyn's left-wing tax and spend manifesto and that of the more fiscally frugal Conservatives. So let's kick off with what the Conservatives had to say. There was much heat but little light in Theresa May's programme for government, with the manifesto launch slightly overshadowed by the Prime Minister's dramatic U-turn on capping social care costs. We don't know yet what level the cap will be set at, but it will sit alongside reforms that mean £100,000 of assets will be protected, so people who have to pay for care have something to pass on to their children. Despite making interventionist noises in markets where she sees failure, such as the energy market, Theresa May remains a traditional low-tax Conservative. Her pledge to continue with plans to increase the personal allowance to £12,500 by 2020 will be a boost to most workers, with around 24 million basic rate taxpayers set to be £33 a year better off in today's prices under the plans. Higher earners will also benefit from the party's commitment to raise the higher rate tax threshold to £50,000 from 2020. Combined with the planned increase to the personal allowance, higher rate taxpayers would gain £208 per year in total under the plans, the IFS reckons, while about 500,000 additional rate taxpayers, who do not get a personal allowance, remember, will still gain £175 per year. On pensions, plans to extend automatic enrolment to the self-employed could potentially provide a savings boost to millions, although details on how this would be done have yet to be spelled out. And while moving from a state pension triple lock to a double lock has been portrayed as an attack on pensioners, the reality is that if inflation or earnings are above 2.5%, the two policies will cost exactly the same. Where Theresa May promised to be a low-tax Conservative Prime Minister, Jeremy Corbyn is unashamedly standing on a tax and spend manifesto. However, the IFS reckons there's a £9 billion black hole in its budget, citing some factual mistakes with regard to part of their tax avoidance package, optimistic assumptions and unspecified tax increases. Clearly, higher earners will face the biggest burden under Labour's ambitious spending plans. Specifically, the party would tax earnings above £80,000 at 45%, while 50% of earnings above £123,000 would go to the taxman. The money raised would be used, among other things, to halt planned rises in the state pension age beyond 66 and retain the triple lock. Labour has said it wants to take account of variations in life expectancy in the state pension system, although there is a danger here that this search for fairness will lead to increased complexity and admin costs. The IFS reckons that in 50 years' time, these state pension promises alone will result in £50 billion of extra spending. There are also some key things we didn't hear about which could yet affect retirement investors. On the state pension age, the Conservative manifesto simply says future rises must reflect increases in life expectancy while protecting each generation fairly. Prior to the election being called, an independent review commissioned by the Tories pointed to a rapid acceleration in retirement ages, with those in their early 40s likely to have to wait until they're 68 to get their state pension. Younger savers could be looking at a state pension age of 70. Given the political sensitivities around such a move, it was no surprise to see the Conservatives keep their cards pretty close to their chest on this particular policy. The Labour manifesto makes no mention of pension tax relief whatsoever. This is something of a surprise, given that its plans to increase taxes for higher earners will make pensions more attractive for those people. Given the left-wing nature of the Labour manifesto, it's hard to imagine this was the policy intention, and I would expect them to revisit this if elected on June the 8th. While the Conservatives' tax plans will not push up the cost of pension tax relief, we cannot be sure they won't pursue reform if they win power. With huge resource pressures on the NHS, and in particular the social care system, the temptation to once again raid pension tax relief might prove too difficult to resist. However, the party's own manifesto puts our ageing society as one of the biggest challenges facing us today, so any reform must be carefully considered and not put at risk the early successes of automatic enrolment. And finally, the general election has put a spanner in the works of a proposed clampdown on pension scams, which included a ban on cold calling. It's a concern to me that neither party has made specific mention of this in their manifestos. Once the new government is formed, the proposals set out in a consultation in December need to be implemented rapidly. This is only the start of the fight back against fraudsters, and any further delay will put the savings of millions at greater risk. That's it from me for now, but of course we will continue to bring you updates about the general election as the outcome becomes clear. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.